And lots of great information, lots of great understanding, lots of great stuff. You're going to get it. Nobody's listening to this, are they? Okay. So the webinar will begin shortly, and it's going to be a great time. One new friend, 3 event guys, 4 great. Wow, that's a lot of activity. I need to see what that is. Hi, this is Steve Brinton with Muscle Testing Academy. Our webinar will begin shortly. I'm going to take a couple minutes here and give the latecomers a few minutes to hop on board here. And so I'll be back to you in about 2 minutes. So hang tight and we'll get this thing going. All right, thanks so much. Hi, this is Steve Brinton. I'm the creator founder of Muscle Testing Academy, and it's a privilege to be with you tonight, share a lot of thoughts, touch base with some of the things you're looking at, give you some really, really great information, some great teaching. I'm going to lead you through 3 techniques that will bring you a greater sense of peace and confidence. And I'm going to show you how to effectively clear up unwanted outcomes in life and get the life you want. Think about that. Unwanted outcomes, results. I don't like the word consequence, I like the word outcomes. Like, we experience outcomes every day in our life. Things turn out the way we wanted to turn out. Things turn out the way we didn't want it to turn out. And I'm of the belief and the stand in my life that whatever's showing up, somehow I'm generating that. So we want to clear up the things that show up in unwanted ways and create a life that gives you what you want in a healthy, productive way, and that will leave you with more peace and confidence. If you'll stick around to the end, I have a free gift for you. Some really great stuff, videos, and I'm going to share those with you. So if you would, get comfortable, get yourself something to drink, a pad, a piece of paper, some notes to take, and we'll get started on this webinar. So this is the Muscle Testing Academy, and the question is, how is what we do different from other modalities? There are lots of ways to work with muscle testing. I ran into someone the other day who said, oh, I've been doing muscle testing since 1981. And I wanted to say in return, but I didn't. Said, yeah, well, you've never seen the way I work with it. So the way I was taught, and there's lots of ways to do it with just your fingers or make your leg or there's just a lot of ways to do muscle testing. But the way we do it in the Muscle Testing Academy is called partnering. The way we partner is we have the client sit down on a recliner or a couch or a table and put their arm up in the air, right or left arm, doesn't matter. And as a facilitator, I put my palm of my hand on their wrist. I ask them yes or no questions. They answer yes or no, and then I push on their arm. And what happens is when we speak the truth, our muscles stay strong. And when we speak things that are not the truth, they go weak and the arm goes down. So this partnering modality is that the person you are working with, like I said, the participant, the client, what I like about it is they are always in on the game. They're never just sitting over the side watching you do your muscle testing on your finger, waiting for things to happen. They experience every strong every week. Now, the reason I say it is, like many years ago, I worked a lot with people who refer to themselves as multiple personalities. And when we do the muscle testing, not just the personality who was out in executive control, but every personality inside that person was listening, watching, and feeling for the responses. They wanted to know if it was strong or weak, if it was of light and truth, or if it was not of truth. And so highly unlikely that any of you are multiple personalities. And we all have parts inside of us. We have lots of parts, and every part inside of you is looking for the experience of the muscle testing. So we teach and promote and pretty much insists that people use this partnering method. And it's pretty exclusive about the way it works. Also, the muscle testing is an absolute essential part of what we do, and there's so much more. We have some really powerful verbal releasings. I call them verbiages, and they're very powerful words. One time I was working with an English teacher, and I was doing one of our releasings, or several of the releasings, as I worked with her. She was a professor. She had her master's degree. She said, you know what? Every word you use in this releasing has purpose and intent. There are no spare words. Everything is used. Everything is purposeful. And she said she'd never heard such verbiage with such clarity and power and intent. So we use the muscle testing. We use some wonderful questions to get the answers. The way you get the answers that matter is you ask the powerful questions. And we have the questions set up for the participant, for the facilitator, excuse me, to ask the questions to get the answers you need to get. A lot of times when we're working with people, we're looking for not just to know what they already know, to make sure it's true, or to find out the things they know they don't know, okay? But we're really looking for with people is what is in their unconscious. What's way down there inside themselves, or maybe it's not way down, just a little bit down there. And because whatever's in your unconscious is creating the outcomes you're getting. You ever notice it? Why is my life turning out the way it is? I don't want it to, and it continues to. Because pretty much your life is not totally governed by what you think you want. Because if it did, we'd all be millionaires. We'd all be happy and joyful in our relationships. We'd all have great health. We'd all have great connection with higher power, with God. And so one of the realities is we have a lot of stuff down inside ourselves. I think one book talked about your own personal history. What happened at age 3 is 0.07356 seconds ago, stored somewhere in that limbic brain of yours, and it's simply triggered by familiar things. So there's a lot of stuff going on inside of us that we're not conscious to. The muscle testing gives us access to the unconscious, hidden conversations in your mind. It gives us access to what I call your blind spots, the things you don't know that you don't know, and you don't even know that you don't know. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Steve Brinton. I have facilitated 38,500 plus muscle testing sessions in 27 years of practice. I've been teaching the Muscle Testing Academy now for this is our 5th year. I've guided over 180 plus individuals through the muscle testing. And I'm a husband, 36 years. I'm a father of 4 children. And I'm a grandfather of 9 grandchildren. Let me tell you a little bit about my history. About 1976, way back, I got into mental health. I worked with delinquent, emotionally handicapped kids in a residential home. Worked with them for nearly 5 years. Then I ran up to school. Got an undergraduate degree in social work. And then I took a 2-year master's program where I ended up with a master's degree in clinical social work and a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. And I graduated in 1985 from that. Went to practice with, worked with an agency in 87. I started private practice, and that's all nice and good. It's good experience, good exposure. In 1990, I had some major life changes. I was young, 36 years of age. My dad was a very, very healthy 70-year-old man who ran 3 miles every day because he was going to live till he was 95. And I think he pushed himself too hard. And one day he ran us 3 miles, and by 6 o'clock that evening, he was gone. And his death blew me out of the water, so much so that a week after the funeral, I woke up from a night's sleep, and I couldn't get out of bed. My back was in so much pain, I could not stand up. I could barely breathe. I was in so much pain. And being in the behavioral health field, I'm like going, well, I know what this is, psychosomatic. My dad passed away two weeks ago, and it's showing up right now in my back. I just don't know how to deal with it. So I crawled down the hallway and crawled in the back of the car. My wife drove me down to the chiropractor, who came out, actually carried me in, got some help to carry me in, put me on his table, and worked on my back to where I could at least stand up. But there was this pain that was so excruciatingly painful. And, My dad was the first person I really lost that was close to me, and I had no idea how it affected me. It just blew me out of the water. I sobbed and cried, and times I couldn't stop it. And if you ask me how I was doing with my dad passed away, I'd begin to verbally out loud sob and weep and cry. I hated that experience. When I was done crying and sobbing and weeping, I would thank you for asking me. So a bit of a paradox, and that's just the nature of losing a loved one. And the chiropractor got me up going, and the pain in my back though would not leave. And I had a good friend told me about this guy up in St. George, Utah. I'm originally from Mesa, Arizona, lived in Gilbert now. I heard about this guy up in St. George, Utah. His name was Jan Graff, and he was doing this weird thing called muscle testing. And it sounded so bizarre and so weird and so quacky that for a year I told my friend, not interested, not going there, can't do that, it's off the charts. You know, sometimes when you get to enough pain, you'll say, I'll go do the weird stuff. You know, the ordinary folks, the acceptable people are not making the pain go away. I'll go find the people on the fringe and see what they got. So I called, made an appointment with this guy, and several weeks later, we drove up to St. George, Utah early in the morning, and I got on his table. He had been a chiropractor, had learned muscle testing, had left chiropractic, and totally did the muscle testing because he said, hey, I can adjust them one day, and they're back the next day. If you don't clear up the stuff, the underlying stressors, their back's going to go out again. Now, I have a chiropractor this day who uses muscle testing, so I'm a believer in that tool. Anyways, I laid on this guy's table, and he did this weird thing with my arm. I didn't understand why my arm was doing what it was doing. He'd ask me questions. I gave him the sure answer. My arm would go weak. I was totally confused. I just didn't get it. And he guided me through a lot of forgivenesses. And at the end of an hour and a half, the pain in my back was completely, totally gone. So I was a believer in muscle testing. I told him, wow, if you ever do this again, if you ever teach us, I want to come to your training. And a year later, he taught it. I took the training. So the question is, ask a few questions. Have you ever wondered, is it possible to be happy? Some people say, yeah, I'm happy. Some people are happy sometimes. But is it possible to be happy? Is it possible to have the life you want? You know, you had dreams at one point, how you wanted to go. It may be going that way. It may not be going that way. Most of the people here listening to this are living in the world of like, maybe there's some things working and you'd like them to work better. Maybe there's some things that are not working as well as you'd like them to, or they're simply not working at all. And what needs to happen? What needs to be cleared up, let go? Is it possible for me to be fully self-expressed? Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live into your true self? And does that scare you? You know, a lot of people, they're really kind of fearful. I talked to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and you know, Scripture says, if you should know the truth shall set you free. And I asked her, do you want to know the truth? And she's like, oh no, I do not want to know the truth. That's way too scary. I do everything I can not to know the truth. I just want to survive in this life. So my guess, most people listening to this webinar are beyond that pathway. They are looking for truth. They're looking for breakthroughs. They want life to be more enjoyable, more peace. What if you could have moments of peace? What if you could relieve the downs in your life? What if you could work through the tough things in life? Have you ever wondered if there were actually a way to resolve your pain? You know, the reality is life will be painful, but you don't have to suffer. Remember, there was a movie where Princess Bride, where the boyfriend kidnaps the princess and carries her off with his mask on, and she's really angry at him, and he's making fun of her. And she says, you mock my pain. And his response is, life is pain, Your Highness. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. So, you know, there's going to be a life and there's going to be pain in life. The question is, how are you going to deal with that pain? And the tools we have in the Muscle Test Academy is, and it sounds audacious, but you can break through anything you want. Any obstacle, anything that is in your way, it's in your mind, that's emotional, psychological, energetic. You can use this tool and break through it. You might say, what would you like me to share? So let me share a few situations that I've been through. I've seen all situations in life. I've proven the muscle testing to cut through the stories. Okay. And I work with people who have multiple personalities. They say that. You know, at one time I worked in the field of behavioral health, and I no longer do. I'm really grateful for the behavioral health field. There's a time and a place for it. People need that. What I do is not that, and it takes people to a whole nother level. I've had clients say, wow, in one session with muscle testing, I got more out of that than I did in a whole year of doing counseling. Well, I am grateful to the whole year of counseling that they did so that they could get the kind of outcome they wanted from a session of muscle testing, because it prepared them, it awakened them, and it helped them be ready to get the breakthroughs they wanted. I have proven the muscle testing system to cut through the stories, and it can be a guide to move you forward. I'm going to share some success stories, some personal experiences, and let's see what we've got here. Okay, I've worked extensively with trauma. Okay, it's the nature of the game. When you work with people, you deal with their trauma, and the muscle testing is extraordinary in taking apart the trauma, because it defines what happened versus what you said about what happened. And once you remove all the chatter in your mind about what happened, the healing begins to take place. Now, I'm a believer that mercy and grace of God is as prevalent or more prevalent than the air that you breathe. It's like right here with you. It wants to come in and bring you healing. And all the chatter in our brain, we'll talk more about this as we go, the chatter in your brain blocks that. All that willfulness and pride that I can take care of. Well, the muscle testing is exquisite and powerful in removing the chatter in your brain. I work with entrepreneurs, helping them move through their blocks in their businesses. Let me share a story. One businessman came to me, and he, very bright man, powerful man. I think he's late 40s, something like that, and he didn't have any emotional problems or difficulties. He was happy in his marriage, and life was going good. You know, he was setting goals. He says, I want to set goals. I want to create business where I have $500,000 a year of residual income and $7.5 million in assets. He was an investor in whatever it was he invested in. And he says, what I really want to get into, I want to get into, he was in homes, okay, and real estate, invested in homes. I want to get in commercial stuff. He says, but I'm a little afraid to get into commercial stuff. I'm a little afraid to move into that. He gave him the reasons why he was fearful, and his dad gave him lots of reasons why he shouldn't go into a commercial business, but that's where the money was. And this guy, he had his act down. He knew how to make it happen. So we use the tools we use in muscle testing. We ask the question we need to ask to find the fears that block him, find all his unconscious concerns and fears about taking the next step forward. And when he was done with that session, he said, I can see it clearly. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly the path I'm going to walk. I've set a whole new set of goals for myself. I want to have $50 million a year of residual income and $750 million in assets. Now, I like cheered him on, like, whew, that was far bigger than I knew how to dream and vision, but it wasn't for him. And he was really, really clear that that's where he's going to go. So did he need psychological help? No. Did he need some help getting through to his goals? Yes. He had goals. He had visions. He had to find out what inside of him was keeping him from declaring, claiming, and owning and embracing and stepping into the higher goals that he wanted to have. So amazing how this tool can help you in your business. All right. It'll help you with relationship challenges. Okay. I'm going to talk about a situation. You know, everybody's had divorces. Not everybody, but there are a lot of people out there who've been through divorce. There's a concept called having final say in the legal system. If you haven't heard about it, when there's a divorce and there's children involved, sometimes a judge will rule and give final say to one of the divorcing parents. Now, that's a pretty pretty challenging, difficult conversation because that person has all the power, all the say about what happens. It's a very powerful, dominating position to have in a relationship. Now I want you to look at your own life and ask yourself, do I have an experience in any of my relationship where it seems like I don't have any say at all? At work, in your personal relationships and family of origin, like I don't have any say. They seem to have all the say, which means the other person has all the power, all the control, all the domination, and they get to say how it goes. And I don't have any say. What's that like? That's a terrible place to be. So that's a highly uncomfortable, unpleasant place to be. So I worked with this guy, and he was pretty much afraid to give up the final say. And I said, final say is very destructive. It'll destroy things. It keeps you bound to the person you divorced for the rest of your life. And in your personal life, outside of maybe marriage, anytime you have that relationship going on, it will destroy the relationship eventually. And maybe you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't know. But if you have ever had the final say, you know how amazingly powerful, controlling, and dominating it leaves you. You get to say how it goes. And if you're on the other end of that, that is a really unpleasant place to be. So using the muscle testing, after a couple of sessions, he was able to let go. Literally, actually got the final say legally changed, and it totally, completely shifted the relationship he had with his newly married wife and the relationship he had with his ex. Things went a whole lot smoother. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Another situation, relationship breakdowns. Worked with somebody once whose relationship broke up, didn't work. Called me, totally distraught, totally feeling helpless and powerless and sobbing and weeping and total breakdown. And in one session, we were able to look at all the reactions, all the denial, all the anger, all the depression, all the bargaining, and let go using the tools we have, using the verbal releases we have. We have to release all that grieving trauma and liberate it, let it go, send it on. And the response at the end of that session was like, I feel so at peace. Is it okay? Is it possible to feel this peace with what I've just been through? It was. And without saying more about her experience, she was able to move forward positively and reconnect later on down the road with a person of her choosing. I'm going to share one more story. Worked with a woman once who was late 20s. She came to me. She said, I've been counseling for 7 years. My life history, we don't even talk. It's such a wreck. But I've been in counseling for 7 years, and I'm doing pretty good. And all I'm done is I just got 2 things. I've been with the latest therapist for the last year, and I'm grateful for that therapist for being so beneficial to her. And she said, there's only 2 things that I can't work through right now. And she said, one of those things is I'm bipolar. And the other one is like there's evil spirits are always chasing me. I can't get away from them. And, being a little bit understanding the situation, I said, that's not a problem. We can handle that. No problem at all. Now, I'm going to share a little secret with you about these diagnoses. There's a purpose for them. They're helpful, but like all things, they can be misused. When you hear somebody say, I am bipolar, what they've done is they've taken a diagnosis, which comes from a list of behavioral symptoms. They've taken that and they put it on as their identity. Not like I'm experiencing bipolar, or I've got some bipolar symptoms, or I have a diagnosis of bipolar. It's like, no, I'm bipolar. And so using the muscle testing, using the tools we have, identifying all the participating variables and energies and that ego identity of I'm bipolar, she's able to revoke that identity. And truly, literally, right? It feels like 3/4 of what I deal with has just disappeared. It's gone. It's no longer here with me. And so that was a victory over, not over bipolar, but over the taking of that diagnosis and turn it into one's ego, which means then people begin to live into the diagnosis. Very destructive. The second part was she said these evil spirits were like chasing around everywhere. So I don't know what you hear, but when I hear somebody saying that, like, that means they have that gift of second sight. They have the ability to like see through the veil to other levels and dimensions. And I knew that in that sense that she had the gift, but she couldn't accept it. When you have the gift and you don't accept it, the people in light won't come to you because you don't want them. I don't want the gift. I don't want to see anybody. So the people in light disappear, and the bad guys, the fear-based ones, chase you around everywhere. We took a simple 2 sessions, worked through all of her fears and concerns of her spiritual gift, let them all go, using the muscle testing, and by the end of the 2 sessions, there were no more bad guys falling around. She wasn't seeing them, she wasn't feeling them, she wasn't sensing them. And she was able to much more be a much greater sense of connectedness with God and just with the light. So that was a really powerful experience for her. Okay, so I'm gonna unlock a few conversations here. And okay. So I'm going to share some methods, some techniques to help you live consistently happier. Those are some stories. I have lots of stories to tell, but I'm going to move forward with this. And I'm going to share with you some information. And possibly might even share some other stories with you. So here we go. So the question is, what brings you here today? What brings you here to this webinar? Something about the ad, something triggered. You are seekers. I so love working with people who are looking for a greater breakthrough, looking for really a greater connection with their self. They want to access what's powerful within them. They want to be able to speak the truth freely, be able to deal with the outcomes. They want to engage. They want to connect with people. They want to express what's inside of themselves. You people, you want that. I want that. That's why I'm here. We've all been through challenges and difficulties, and we're looking for something that can take us to the next level. Okay, so here's some questions. What's not working with you in your life? Okay, and talk about health. How's your health? When back in the day when I was working with this concept of multiplicity, one of the doctors, I was working with people with their emotional, psychological experiences, and one of the doctors, they all had a physician who was helping them get through the physical side of that. And he said to me, Steve, 95% of the physical ailments I deal with are psychosomatic. They come from unfinished emotional, unfinished interpretations, stressors in life. So you take a look at what you've got. There's not a circle with pieces of pie in it saying physical, mental, emotional, psychological. That doesn't work. Everything is interconnected. You got something going on physically, you got something going on psychologically, emotionally, energetically, stressfully, and vice versa. So, a lot of times one of the questions we ask is like, are you experiencing a physical health problem? And then we go, are you experiencing a physical health problem due to stress? And about 98% of the time, it's a physical health problem due to stress, whether it's a sinus infection or some other physical something that's not working. They're going through it. I'm going to share another quick story. Had a woman come to one of our introductions, and she got to be the demonstration. We do this 2.5-hour free introduction of the muscle testing, and she volunteered, or actually the muscle testing chose her to be the demonstration in the chair. She got in the chair, worked some really stuff. She said, I've had fibromyalgia for 3.5 years, diagnosed, been to the doctors, get all the help I can. And somewhere towards the end of the session, she acknowledged that she had some, I call them death wishes or suicidal thoughts, even made some degree of gesture towards that to come out, obviously, the other side of life. And I think, it's really, really, really good that you didn't do that, because you know what? People who commit suicide, it's very generational. It affects their children and their grandchildren. It just opens the doorway up. Feels like, yeah, well, my dad committed suicide, and my brother committed suicide. I have 2 uncles and an aunt committed suicide. So a whole family, like massively, historically in that experience. And so we did what we did with the muscle testing, used the tools we had, cleared things up. I won't go into the details of that. She was the one who could see through the veil and saw things happening there, and when it was all said and done, she's like, wow, things are a lot lighter, a lot brighter, amazing. I feel so much better. Then we closed it up and she went home. That was a Tuesday night. On Thursday, she sent me a text going, I got home and Wednesday there was something so profoundly different. I didn't know what to say. And I realized before I could hardly wear clothes, my skin was so sensitive. It was so painful to wear clothing, so painful to move. And she said, I've not felt any pain since that night. None. I don't have any pain. I can move. This is amazing. Now, anybody who knows anything about fibromyalgia will tell you there's a whole lot of unfinished business conversations, stressors connect with it. And dealing with that trauma with her around that issue, the family pattern, and it was gone. So do I claim to be able to do that with every situation? No. It's just interesting that when you deal with the stressors that people have, they're unfinished business, they're unfinished thoughts, they're unfinished energetics, that you get some extraordinary, amazing transformations in health. We deal with thoughts. You can do stuff that takes care of thoughts, or you can do stuff that takes care of energy. And the way we use muscle testing, it's a very powerfully divine focused tool for healing. And we deal with both the mental, the thought processes, and the energetic, spiritual aspects of it. So we have relationships. How you doing in relationships? How's your connectedness? Are you at peace? Are you in experience with loving? I meet with people all the time like, I love my spouse or my partner, but I don't like them at all. So a lot of pain, a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges, always. Relationships is where it's at. We're really not solo people. We are very much gregarious people. We are relationship people. And that brings up whatever you have unfinished business in your relationship. A lot of people deal with divorce. A lot of people deal with being alone, or loneliness, or emptiness, or shame. You name it, whatever hangs out in your family of origin dynamics. Mine, there's a lot of conversation around lack and fear. And so those, what are you afraid of? What are your concerns around the area of relationship? Next one is finances. There we go, the happy one. I'll share you a little secret. Sometimes I ask people the muscle testing, do they think they have to earn everything they get, their income? And almost that exception say, oh yeah, you get what you earn. You earn everything. If you're not doing well, you earn that. If you're doing well, you earn that. So you have to earn everything. And when you muscle test it, it's a really interesting dynamic. There's a direct correlation between your belief that you have to earn every penny you get and your belief of whether mercy and grace of God is free or if you have to earn it. Okay. And almost anybody who says you have to earn every last penny I get, it will also muscle test for them that they have to earn and deserve and qualify and be worthy of receiving mercy and grace of God. And from my point of view, that's not how the mercy and grace works. It's there for you. It's there for you to receive it if you will let go of that which keeps you from it, which is whatever blockages keep you from it. So finances, powerfully tied into relationships because it influences relationships. Next, we have career. What are you up to? I know people in their 60s who are going, I've had several careers. I'm looking for the next one. What do I do now? And muscle testing is extremely powerful in helping people identify where they want to go. What's their passion? What keeps them floating? What moves them? What inspires them? I've had this privilege of working with muscle testing for 27 years now. And I've never had a Monday morning where I got up and didn't want to go to work. I have never been bored going to work. People say, how can you stand sitting with somebody, listening to them for 8 hours, tell you their problems? I go, I don't know, because I don't do that. Muscle testing, we spend a couple minutes, 10, 15 minutes, talking about what people want out of that session. And then we go right to the chair, we start muscle testing, and we get miracles every time. It's amazing the stuff that comes out of a muscle testing session. And so what if you could have a career that you didn't get that Sunday night funk and the Monday morning, I don't want to get up and go to work. Like, it's just okay to go to work. It's like I feel energized at work. I enjoy it. It's not boring. And you don't have to become a muscle testing professional to do that. You can simply clear out whatever issues, conversations keep you from enjoying what you're doing. Muscle testing is a powerful tool for that. Spirituality. Okay. That almost takes us back to you have to earn and deserve, be worthy of God, of Christ, of Holy Spirit, of mercy and grace. And people who use the muscle testing, both the facilitator and the practitioner will tell you at the end of a session, almost without exception, they'll say, I feel so much peace. I just feel peace inside. So at ease. I am so calm. I feel so much peace. I just love this place. You know, the interesting thing about the muscle testing is that one of the things I say, it's peace upon demand. And that's like pretty bold and audacious, but it really is. I will sit down because my wife, Joyce, does the muscle testing, and you really don't need it. Another person who knows how to do it, just someone who's willing to sit in a chair and use their arm, even to ask questions about yourself. But we'll muscle test 2 to 4 times a week just because like I'm feeling stuck, I need to move forward, and I don't know what it is. And we'll sit and muscle test for 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Get great breakthroughs, get up and go and take on our day and feel confident in doing so. So what if you could have that kind of spiritual confidence that you could tap into peace anytime you need it in your life, and that you could tap in any kind of breakthrough you needed in your life, no matter what was in the way? You have the tool that can open it up, clear it up, let it go, and allow healing, allow the mercy and the grace of God to come into your being and bring you that peace. Okay, so here's a question to ask. Where are you at in life? So right now, if you would take a look at where are you at in life? What's going on right now? What's working? What's not working? What's happening? What's going on in your relationships? Things I've heard in the last several muscle testing experience we've led is like, I want a better relationship with my spouse. I want a better relationship with my kids. I want to be able to have extra money. I want to not be afraid of money. I want to have good health. I want to be able to get up in the morning. I want to be able to feel healthy. I want to feel strong. I want to feel aches and pains and weaknesses in my physical body. And people just want their clarity in their career, and they want the spiritual connection for God. So write that down. Where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at in your relationship with your significant other? Are you at peace? Do you struggle? And the amazing thing about muscle testing in relationships, I'll tell a story on myself. I live in an area where there are irrigation canals, pretty big, about 3-4 feet deep of water and 15-20 feet across. And every day I get to walk on that canal bank with my wife. And some days we have great conversations. Some days it ain't so great. There's days when we've had conflict. And every time we have a conflict, in the relationship, I'm usually the quieter one, and she's the more expressed one because that's the families we came from. And even when she gets upset and blows up, whatever you might call it, with the muscle testing, I can muscle test and identify where I set that up. I set up her blow up 3 days before. I lit the fuse on some conversation. I planted the seed for what 3 days later blew up in our conversation on the canal bank. So what I love about the muscle testing in relationships, in anywhere, at work, at home, when you're at your relationships outside of the home, is I don't have to be the victim. I don't ever have to be the victim. And most of you are listening have probably experienced victimness. Because you know what? Most of the perpetrators don't want to have this kind of conversation. But so I'm listening to those who are like, no, I choose a pathway of peace. But sometimes that pathway is expense of my well-being, and it leaves me not being peaceful, and it leaves me being the victim. So I have found that with muscle testing, I can always identify those parts within me that are generating what's not working in my relationship with my wife or elsewhere. And when I use the tools of the muscle testing as we teach them, when I use the verbiages, I use the forgivenesses, and I work through that stuff, let it go, and then the behavior in the other person shifts. Amazing. Amazing how when I shift myself, those around me also get shifted. That's an extraordinary understanding. Where it leaves you is really like you don't need to be the victim anymore to anybody, ever. Anytime you are, just get some time, pull somebody aside, let them be, muscle test, use them and ask questions about yourself that we give you. Work through those issues, clear them up, and like when they're done, they're gone. They're done. They're gone. You don't have to deal with it. Pretty amazing conversation. So now the question is like, you identify where you're at, your finances, are you in debt? Are you in debt more than you can handle? Are you like, I can't get out of debt? And I'll tell you, debt that doesn't go away, you can almost always find that that's connected with unresolved family of origin, generational issues. It's like an energetic debt. Okay. It is an unpaid, unresolved, incomplete debt. It's showing up financially in your life. If you clear up that historical stuff, and you can do that with the muscle testing, the finances begin to shift. How you see them shifts, how you experience them shifts, literally the money shifts. So you might take a look at where you're at in life, and B, okay, where do you want to be in life? Where do you want to be in your relationship? And you name what's not working, but how things are at. Where do you want it to be? Do you want to have a sense of connectedness or a sense of relatedness, sense of belonging in your relationship with your significant other, with your friends, your coworkers? You want that peace? Great stuff. Prosperity. I'm not really selling like how to get rich quick in this seminar. I'm like how to find peace, how to find self-expression, how to find some good health, how to like not be the victim in your life. These are all attributes that when you find a resolution to them, or as you begin to like bring healing to those areas of your life, guess what? Your finances get better. You're able to get better. It's a well-known fact that I think about 75-80% of all people who win the lottery within 5 years, they are dead broke. Why is that so? Because energetically, they can't handle that much money. Their patterns in their life are too distraught, too fear-based, too locked in. Their fear-based vows and oaths and covenants and commitments and contracts and agreements and conditions and programmings and promises to life are so fear-based and negative-based that it's almost like they can't handle the money. They got to get rid of it. They can't be with prosperity. They can't be with that much goodness. And so, likewise with muscle testing, you can begin to identify the areas of your life where like you don't allow yourself to be blessed to experience financial prosperity. And I can sit down with anybody. It's one of the conversations we cover in our 2-day muscle testing academy. We go over the money conversations in your brain and how you sabotage yourself. We use the muscle testing tool to begin to clear those up. So where do you want to be in your life? What's possible? What do you want to throw up there on your vision board? Or like, yeah, I want this and this and this and this. And even if it's like beyond your wildest dreams. But once you have B, once you experience some peace, once you experience some prosperity, some connectedness, some relatedness, some belonging, some purpose in your life, some vision, some clarity. And the question you want to ask yourself is, what can I see from there? If you had B, what could you see from there? What this is, what would you want beyond your wildest imaginations and miracles? This is really that part of your life where you can just never give yourself permission to like believe like that would be possible in your life. I've read enough stories, I've read enough books to know that really, if there's something you really, really want, it really, really is possible. And it really will require that you give up all the crap in your life that keeps you from getting that. And I think one of the funniest things I joke about, and I joke about with my wife all the time, is like people say, okay, now you know what's not working, now give it up. And it's like, well, how do you just give it up? Okay. How do you give it up? So that's the question. You give it up. Here's a give it up question. Years ago, when I was a young kid, I was about 12 or 13. My dad was helping out with a much older Boy Scouts, 16, 17-year-old Boy Scouts. And that was the beginning of the days of Lake Powell, way back when. We had pontoon boats, some other boats, and we were out in Lake Powell for a week up in northern Arizona. What a great place. Man, there are diving cliffs. There are cliffs you can jump off from there. The fishing was beyond amazing. The scenery was incredible. The water was so clean at the time. We just put our buckets of water, 5-gallon buckets of water down in the middle of the lake and pull it out. It was like perfectly clean. There's nothing in it but cleanness. And one night we pulled into this big, huge cove, about a quarter-mile wide, quarter-mile deep. Put all the boats in there, pulled up on the beach, set up camp. Everybody got their sleeping bags and laid them out and got the campfire going. We caught a whole lot of bass that day, and we skinned and filleted all the bass, put those out, had a great supper that night. Everybody filled up on that and the desserts we had, and then had a big bonfire going. And then a bunch of guys said, "Hey, look, this big old huge tree, driftwood, had floated into the cove. It was about 100 yards out." So we all swam out of this huge tree. It was like 50, 60 feet long. It's about 2 feet all the way through. Big branches coming off of it. This is like the beginning of Lake Powell when whatever was floating down the rivers got stuck there. And we played and had fun. And I was like 12, and these kids were all 16, 17, and joking and having a great time. And all of a sudden it's dark, and he goes, "Hey, you guys, we have floated out into the middle of the lake." Literally, it was a quarter-mile cove deep, and we were out another quarter-mile into the lake. It's like a half-mile back to the shore. And like, oh my gosh, it's like pitch black at night, dark, zillion stars out there, and we could see off in the distance this big, huge bonfire at our campground. Nobody was out around, and then all these grown-up kids go like, "Okay," and they just hopped off the tree and started swimming to shore. And I'm like 12 years old, and I'm like, I don't know. That's a long ways in there. I don't know if I can swim that far. And I watched them swim off, and nobody checked, "Hey, Steve, you okay?" And so I'm thinking, well, I could stay on this tree all night, maybe, and maybe fall off and drown. I don't know, but I was pretty scared. It was pretty dark out there. And finally I decided, I got to go. I got to try to swim back to shore. So I just kind of shoved off and started swimming. Did some backstroke, did some breaststroke, did some side stroke, did some freestyle, just trying to take it slow, take it easy. And I swam. I finally got up close to the entrance of the cove, and I'm like really, really tired. I just didn't know if I could make it. I swam another 50 yards in. I'm just thinking, I can't go any further. I'm exhausted. I'm spent. I'm going to drown. I'm going to die. This is it. My life is over. And if I'm going to go, I don't want to drown ugly. So I'm just going to I'm going to stop and go way down, and I'm just going to let my air out. And I do not want to die ugly here. I just want to go. So I took a deep breath, and then I stopped, and I dropped my feet down to go down, way down deep in the lake, and I stood up right there in the cove. The water was 3 feet deep. It was 3 feet deep all the way in. I laughed, and I saw oh my gosh, I could have drowned right here in 3 feet of water and not known that it wasn't 700 feet deep like it was at the middle of the lake. So I walked back in the rest of the way, and I laughed. And, I got on shore, and nobody knew I was gone. They would have known the next day that I was not there and that I drowned. I mean, nobody was back the day when nobody really had that kind of mindfulness. And I came up and stood around the campfire and was amazed that I was still alive and grateful that I was still alive. And so sometimes we have to give up our own sense of willfulness, give up all the ways we use to protect ourselves, survive, be safe, be secure, let it all go and step into the gift of the hand of higher power to take us where we need to get to, take us to the next level. So I'm grateful. That was a great experience for me. I've always remembered it. And it's it's time to let go sometimes. You can't fix it all by yourself. You need help. The muscle testing tool is an extraordinary tool for getting that help that you need. We use many, many different ways of accessing that information and releasing it through our verbal releasings and our forgivenesses. It's an extraordinary experience. So I'm going to talk to you about another way to understand life here. Okay, talk about how to use the ABC system. Write that down, have it available, because it's a great way to sit down and say, okay, where am I at? What's stopping me? Where am I stuck? Where do I want to be? And from there, what can I see possible for myself? So here's another, what I call system and non-system, known as the circles. I love this tool. I use it every day in my life. I'm always thinking about how to get clarity. Now, I don't know about you, but funny thing is, like, I was raised, I was fourth out of 7 children. The family, 7 kids. You got us all together. You asked us about our upbringing. You would say, I don't think any of you grew up in the same family, because we all saw family life from our own frame of reference, and it was very different from each one, for each person. If you sit down and go, no, that's not how it was. Oh, it was this way. And we all saw it differently. So I'll take ownership of that and simply say that the household I grew up through my eyes was a lot of fear-based kind of stuff. I was a frightened little boy, lived in a lot of fear, and wasn't confident, felt inadequate, never felt like I was good enough. I was a pretty introverted kind of kid for a long, long time. And that was my, I never knew, like, what's the truth. So this little tool here is going to help you always figure out what's the truth, because when you know the truth will set you free. The question is, what does it set you free from? Okay, so we'll talk about that. First circle I call system. System is you. In the spiritual realm, this is like, I'm a child of God. I'm a being of light of truth. I'm divine in nature. I come from light and truth. Okay, call this first circle. And in this circle is a reality of things as they are, things as they were, what was so in the past, things that are to come, what's going to show up. If you had full access to this circle, you would know past, present, past, and future. This is like truth. It's what happened. Okay, and in this circle, there's pain. We talked about that. In life, there's pain. But I always like sit down and say, what happened? What just happened? What's going on? And get really clear about what happened versus what I said about it. So second circle, I call non-system. Non-system because it's not you. All right? It's full about is all what we say about what happened. It's the chatter in your life. It creates suffering. It's all your judgments, all your interpretations, all your shoulds, all your expectations, all your demands, all your fear, fright, and terrors. It's all that crazy thinking. I'm no good. I'm not good enough. All this irrational thinking. I just call it the chatter in your brain. That's that chatter that never stops. It's always going. It's always talking to you. Always telling you why you can't do it, why you're not good enough, why you don't qualify, why you're not worthy. Or for some people, it's a real positive and says, I can do anything and I can do everything and nothing's wrong. And it's kind of like a happy, shiny, happy life, which is not really anchored in truth. So second circle, that's what we say about it. These are my interpretations, my assumptions, my judgments, my condemnations, all the stuff that I say. You might say, system, circle 1 is what happened. It's the event, the experience. And second circle is conversation. It's language. Anytime you begin thinking, you're in second circle. All that thinking creates suffering. And it creates your story. Your story is 3% what happened, 97% what you said about it. That's pretty amazing. Most of what happens is second, third circles. Third circle is emotion. Now, second circle is your beliefs, your thoughts. Third circle is emotion. Emotion and beliefs are pretty much the same thing. The front of the coin, the back of the coin, front of the hand, back of the hand. They come together. Thoughts are in your mind. You experience them from your chin on up. Your emotions are the vibrational frequency of a thought, and you experience them from your chin on down. We call them emotion or feelings. The visceral, it can only be measured viscerally by tight and relaxed muscles in your body. So those second circle thoughts bring with them lots of emotions. Those emotions bring lots of second circle thoughts. And it's all this stuff in the second circle that creates so much problem. Now, every one of those thoughts is fear-based. Okay, so we got here fear, anger, sadness, all that's kind of good stuff. All that second circle thought creates, they're all connected with negative energies or entities. Interesting. That's where we deal with the energetic spiritual sides. Those have to be dealt with. Part of the muscle test we use is to identify those guys. There's ways to thank them for their contribution and send them on their way. So That's the second, third circles. Now, emotions is energy in motion, okay, and it moves us to action, and it moves us to circle 4, which is action or reaction. So there's basically 3 ways we react. We have flight, we have fight, and freeze. Like freeze, deer in the headlights. Okay. So flight is like I want to be perfectionistic. I want to dominate. I want to be in control. I want to learn it all. I want to take charge. I want to win. I'm out there fighting. I'm overcoming. I'm conquering. I'm going to take care of this. That's the fight part. Excuse me. The flight part is I don't want to deal with anything. Drugs, sex, alcohol, whatever substances we can use. We do geographical flights. We run away from. We isolate. We go away. We hide. We get depressed. Those are all the ways in which we flight. I don't want to deal with it. We disconnect. We let go. I don't want to be there. So, and freeze is just like deer in the headlights. Like, I'm stuck. I can't make any choices. So, take this. Learn this. If you learn this, every time you sit, you go to second circle, every political conversation, second circle. Spin exists in second circle. That's where all the stories get made up. That's where everybody says, no, it's this way, no, it's that way. It's just the spin of life. And all that spin creates so much fear and anger and upset, and anger, rage, and resentment, and bitterness, and hostility, and judgment, and condemnation, and contempt, and disgust, and hopelessness, and despair, and resignation, futility, panic. People get into flight mode, people get into fight mode. Who's right, who's not. And fight's all about who's right. Okay. You ever have that problem like who's right? Who's right? Who gets to have the final say? That's what that creates. And it's all about control. So anytime you have conflict in a relationship, every time there's conflict in any kind of relationship, because the real issue is like who has the power and control, who doesn't. Who wants the power and control, who doesn't. Who wants to be controlled, who doesn't want to be controlled. That's a great one. Take a look at that one in your everyday life. So learn this circle. These circles, it's powerful. This will transform your life if you learn these circles and learn how to apply them. Second, third circle is drama. You know how often we love drama? What do you think TV is all about? TV series like all about drama. So keeps us locked into it, keeps us from not being as purposeful, as productive as we'd like to be. Okay. And that, the reaction creates the next what happened, and the cycle continues. Okay. I'm going to go over forgiveness here really quick. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is a funny word sometimes. Like forgiveness, what the heck does that mean? It's kind of a weird word. I like to break it up. It's forgiving. Okay. And forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. Someone has transgressed on you. Someone has violated your boundaries, has violated your agency or your choice in matter of life. They have perpetrated against you. And what we end up doing with that pain, we take offense. We get angry. We make a judgment, a circle judgment, and we get resentful. We get bitter. We get upset. And we become the victim. And so one of the most powerful ways out of the victim role is forgiveness. We're going to go through what the benefits of forgiveness are. So here we go. Forgiveness, here's what I like this. Here's what forgiveness is not. Okay. So sometimes we want to identify what something is. We need to, first of all, be clear what it's not. So here we go. Forgiveness does not condone what happened. So some people say, I don't want to forgive because if I forgive, it means what happened is okay. It means it was okay. It's like, it's not okay. So forgiveness does not condone what happened. Forgiveness does not make what happened okay. It's not okay what happened. When I forgive you, it doesn't make it all okay. It just unbinds me from you. One of our classes we used to teach, we had like 1/4-inch rope, tie it around a person, have them name one of the situations in their life where they had been victimized. And I said, when you take offense at that person, it's like this rope. We have them walk all the way through the room, up and down all the aisles, in between people, pulling this rope behind them, and just see what a mess that rope makes as it goes through your life. Runs over people, tangles them up. You take offense at people and they move halfway across the world. Energetically, you are still connected to that person. You take offense to somebody who's died, energetically, you are still bound to that person. So we teach you some really powerful tools, not just forgive, but we'll tell you exactly how to forgive, how to deal with the forgiveness process so that you clean up these issues. They're no longer sitting with you. Okay, forgiveness does not obligate you to befriend the perpetrator and abuser. Now you've forgiven them, make nice. No, not so. You don't have to hang around that person. You don't have to like them. You don't have to be around them at all. In fact, what forgiveness does is it liberates you to not have to be around the person who violated your boundaries. Forgiveness does not obligate you to associate again with the abuser or perpetrator. You don't ever have to hang around them again. Or you're your sister, your brother, your extended family, or somebody from church. Like, no, you don't have to hang around them ever again. You don't have to associate with them. Forgiveness empowers you to have the power to say no to that situation. You do not have to like or agree with what happened. So forgiveness does not say, oh, it's okay, and I like it, and I agree with what happened. Nope, not at all. Again, forgiveness empowers you to break the binds, the chains, the ties that bind you negatively to the people who have violated you, wherever those might be. Think of it. Where? Where at home, where at work, where in your family of origin, where at church, where in your intimate relationships, have you been offended and you're like bound to them by that negative, taking offense. Forgiveness will give you freedom. Does not mean you're accountable. Forgiveness does not mean that people are not accountable for their actions. So because you forgive them, doesn't take them off the hook with the karma of life. They still got to deal with it. You are not releasing them from their own karma. You're just releasing you from their karma. That's what you want. So here's what forgiveness is. Okay, here we go. It means letting go of your fear, your interpretation and condemnation of what happened. You cut the cords, you release it, you're done with it. It means letting go of your condemnation of yourself and others. Okay, typically, you find somebody who's perpetrated against another, typically the person who gets violated, part of their chatter, part of their second circle chatter will inevitably have to do with somehow it's my fault, I deserve it, I'm not good enough, I should have been, I set that up, okay, and they're blaming themselves. So when you do forgive, you let go of that condemnation of yourself and others. Forgiveness frees you from the anger, the pain, the rage, the trauma that others or the event have imposed upon you. So when you experience a trauma event, and trauma at any time, your boundaries, your choice in life, your agency is violated, there's been some trauma going on, all right? And this, using forgiveness as we teach it, will liberate you from that experience. You will be finished. I worked with a person just last week when we were done walking through all the forgivenesses. They simply said, I feel so free. I feel so light. I feel so liberated. This is wonderful. Forgiveness frees you from the judgment and the condemnation of others towards you. Again, you might see yourself, it's like a laser beam that just cuts the negative cords that attach you, that bind you to other people. Forgiveness frees you from all that attachment to them. What a marvelous privilege and experience. And it releases punishment or justice to God. You don't got to be the one who delivers the punishment. You don't have to go get back. You don't have to be the one who balances the scales of justice. Turns that over to God. And I do believe that God is probably a little bit more clear on the punishment that needs to be dealt with out to people, the punishment or the grace or the mercy, whatever people have coming to them from their karma. So forgiveness creates a space of healing. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to breathe, to be at peace, be quiet, to have a great night's sleep. Recently worked with a person who had not been sleeping and doing their personal work. They cleared up all the stuff that kept them from sleeping, their insomnia. Said, I've not slept since I was a child. And they did their personal work. And when it was done, it's like, I go, I'm not depressed. I'm not suicidal. I'm not even having dementia, early onset dementia. I just couldn't sleep. I was experiencing sleep deprivation. Clean that up. When you forgive, you clear up the space for healing. Mercy and grace comes in. Peace comes in. Life is restored. So I'm just going to read a couple of these really quick, what people have to say. These are quick little quotes. Oftentimes, the facilitator gets as much out of the session as the person in the chair. That's true. If you're the one facilitating the session, you're in the flow. You're in the flow of that light and that energy, that forgiveness. You're the vessel that energy is flowing through. Here's Rob. Rob says the Muscle Testing Academy was a unique and beautiful experience. It is hard to quantify or put into words all that I learned. As a high-level overview, I learned the tools to proficiently facilitate muscle testing sessions. But the reality is I learned so much more than that about myself, how I interact with my others, how I view the world. Attending the Muscle Testing Academy caused some monumental shifts in both my life personally, professionally, and most importantly, in my relationship with my wife. Learning how to remove the lens of second circle to see life through first circle has had an enormous impact on how I approach, handle situations. My wife and I are both MTA graduates, and being able to work on each other has provided tremendous advantage to both of us. Before going through the MTA, I didn't think we would be able to work on each other. But after having facilitated countless sessions for her, with her, and she for me, I can honestly, confidently say we can do this. Being able to muscle test each other is like carrying around a marriage-specific Swiss Army knife. Anytime one of us is feeling stuffed up, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, she or I will get in the chair and work on our issues. Our Swiss Army knife helps us root out our issues. We can then release those and let them go on. Oftentimes, a facilitator gets as much out of the session as the person in the chair. Being able to work with my wife helps me connect to her on new levels and gives me a new level of appreciation for her. For me, going through the MTA was not easy. It brought up many difficult things I didn't want to deal with in my life. However, all it was not easy, it has most certainly been worth it. Thank you, Rob. Now, I was saying most muscle testing sessions, if I get the other spouse or the other significant other to sit in on the session, whoa, great stuff. Powerful empathy, powerful compassion, powerful understanding takes place. So here's from a good friend, client, San Tran. He said, I had initially seen Steve. I did not know what to expect. He was referred to me as someone you got to see. I came in with an open mind, and after the first session, my mind was blown. Steve was able to clear out things I didn't know I didn't know. He was so warm in his ways and chair-side manners. Some revelations were amazing. Others were very subtle. Both changed my perspective on the world around me for the better. I would recommend Steve to anyone who wants to know more about themselves and overcome things easily and effortlessly. Thanks, Sam. And his wife, Tweet, says, I was first introduced to muscle testing, and Steve by my husband, who learned about it from his sister. You know, this all comes through referral. There's a big shift in the way I think about issues that came up during my sessions. I was so unaware of how my head wasn't communicating with my heart, which creates incongruency within myself, and thus the feeling of being stuck. Once Steve was able to bring up issues that I either wasn't aware of or just had difficulty letting go of a negative emotion associated with the situation, I was able to shine some light on it, work with him to release them. I always feel so light coming out of my session. I call it my therapy, although the method is rather unconventional. I don't just sit there and talk to a therapist about my issues, which would require some awareness. With Steve and his muscle testing technique, he is able to use yes or no questions to bring up issues that are hidden. It's hard to explain, but you will be amazed once you try it. It's definitely worth a try. Thanks, Tweet. Let me share with you. The Answer to How is Yes is a really marvelous book called The Answer to How is Yes. You know, when our mind says, well, how is that going to happen? All we're looking for is all the reasons why it won't happen, okay? Why it can't happen, why this can't be okay for me, why life can't work for me. And it'll come up with really lots of really great reasons why what I want are not available to me. Now, all that stuff is just second circle garbage, second, third circle garbage. Get clear about that. The reality is, there's something you want that you're committed to that resonates with your heart. If you'll say yes to that, I said saying yes to your knowing. It's the part of you, your true self, that knows where you need to go. Okay. When you say yes to that knowingness, powerful things happen. We have a Muscle Testing Academy 2-day basic course coming up in about 10 days. And with this tool, you literally can make a difference in the world, one person at a time. You know, there's a story of the old mine on the beach. There'd been a storm the night before, and a lot of starfish had been cast up on the beach with the storm, the tide, and had gone out and left a lot of starfish on the beach. And this old guy's down there, he's picking them up, throwing them back in the ocean. A young kid comes by and says, "Oh man, what are you doing? Man, there's thousands of these guys. Like, you don't make any difference at all by doing what you're doing. The old man picks up the starfish and throws it back in the ocean. He goes like, well, it made a difference to that one. Okay. So muscle testing is making a difference one day at a time, one person at a time. I'm hosting a 2-day basic course in person where we will go in depth with the topics we have discussed tonight, and also a lot more in depth of what's available to you. You will acquire the power and expertise of muscle testing. You'll be skilled in the art of forgiveness. You'll experience demonstrations and hands-on application. We'll teach, we'll practice it, we'll apply, we'll experience it. Everybody's going to get the experience being both the participant and the facilitator. And every time we teach, we'll stop, we'll practice, we'll apply. We have 16 hours of total training on a Friday and a Saturday. There is a responsive community and support system so that you continue to progress. We have a structure set up to support you once the seminar is over, once the training is done. We have access to, those who participate will have access to the MT 101 online videos. These are only available on this webinar, and they'll help you be better prepared for the muscle testing 2-day course. Immediately, you get access to our online video when you register to get a jump start on learning. The introduction online classes are about the system nonsense we talked about, the circles. They go in depth about content, context, like what's the unconscious, what's the conscious, which is the content, and the context, which is the unconscious, and gives you a whole lot more vision. All these things are like, they're created like awaken you from a deep sleep, like bring you an awareness, bring you an awakening, bring you, like when you step into life, you can start going, oh, that's not true. That didn't happen. That's what they made up about it. Here's what happened. Once you can identify what happened, then you are no longer the victim. You get to choose how life goes. We will go in depth even more so on forgiveness. Teach you the exact tools on how to craft a forgiveness, which is a very unique method, and to use that forgiveness in any part of your life in the muscle testing experience or outside of it. We will give you access, these online videos give you access to vision boards, to the conversation about miracles. These are great, great stuff. Like when you begin to clear things up inside of yourself, all that clearing space, what do you do with that space? Oh, we give the conversation about miracles and vision boards gives you now I know what to put in there, not to put frosting on a mud pie and call it a chocolate cake, but we clear out the mud pie and allow you to like really plant what you want to have inside of your being. We teach you, we have a video on the muscle testing method. Details step by step on how to get good, authentic, congruent, strong yes or no responses. Okay. The retail value of these attributes here, of this muscle testing online video is $299. So keep that in mind. Part of the Muscle Testing Academy 2-day basic course also is the art of forgiveness. You become a master of guiding self, friends, clients, and family members through a complete forgiveness, and teach them how to do forgivenesses. What if you could teach everybody you know how to verbalize forgivenesses? Remember, it's not about the bad guy. It's about liberating you from the violation of others. You become a master of utilizing muscle testing to discover and release destructive thoughts and behaviors. How to identify the unconscious, subconscious junk going on inside your mind or the mind of others that creates the problems you have. You become a master of combining the muscle testing with the forgiveness. It's amazing how to take these two tools and integrate them together and use them as an extraordinary, amazing tool of release, transformation. Okay. We value this at $499. Partnering method, okay, on the muscle testing. You'll be able to learn our muscle testing partnering method and technique, so that as you go through the 2-day training, you'll be confident. You can sit down with anybody and get a good quality, strong yes or no response. You learn the benefits of using the participant's arm so the communication is complete. You get accurate muscle testing responses. You'll learn the verbiage and the format, we call it the format, to ask all the questions to facilitate a muscle testing session. And we retail this value at $699. For access to the Muscle Testing Academy community, You get to become a master of ask questions and verbalize any concerns or issues you're having with our muscle testing. This is the support system we set up to support you when the seminar is over. We allow you to interact with like-minded people who are seeking transformation, freedom, liberation. Want to make a difference. Want to be a contribution. Everyone wants to say, I want to be a contribution to this life. I want to make a difference in my life and in the life of others. It's a powerful community to do so. You'll learn from others' experiences and share your experiences. We do a lot of sharing. When other people speak, you get yourself, and they're speaking. So really powerful to be a part of that. We have a monthly phone tree coaching call and the use of muscle testing. Spend an hour each month taking all the questions and answering them and getting people clear about where they're at. And you make new friends and have fun. Okay. This whole process here, we value at $199. So, access to Muscle Testing 101 online videos, the Art of Forgiveness, the Partnering Method, access to Muscle Testing Academy community. You add these all up, the total value is $1,696. Question asks, if all that were available, you could walk away from the weekend with that. Okay, would it be worth $1,696? Okay, that's the question. Would you pay that for that kind of transformation and to have a tool that you have with you the rest of your life? So to save your spot for the Muscle Testing 2-day basic course, Friday and Saturday, February 16 and 17, 2018. The time is 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. both days. You'll be in the Mesa Convention Center, Mesa, Arizona. We offer it to you because you're part of this, all right? We'll be hosting it here in Mesa. Because you're on this webinar, you won't be paying the $1,696. You'll just be paying $997. Great benefit. So if you have questions about the 2-day course, okay, let's have a conversation. Email me at muscletestingacademy@gmail.com with the subject 2-day course, or text me at 602-284-8439. And let me know you just watched the seminar and you like to talk about the course. I'd love to have a conversation. Love to answer your questions. So thank you. I'm going to leave this slide open so you can write this information down. You can screenshot it. Look forward to interact with you. Look forward to sharing this extraordinary, amazing gift that brings transformation into your life and the life of others. Take care.